Okay, I just did a long-ish video and realised I was using the microphone in the webcam, and all constant hiss on it wasn't really that impressive. It's a crappy microphone on there. It's not that good a camera as webcams go. I've had better. But good news is I'm running Linux Peppermint 10. I've been running that, and I got a little bit bored of it. Because it kind of, despite the fact that, like any Linux system, you can change so much. You change the look of it, and different menus and how the menus behave and all that. It still looked kind of bland to me, unexciting. I wanted so like smooth animations here and there, but then I'm running old technology. Would it be resource hungry? Too much if I had something else. So I heard about Linux Pop OS by System 76. Anyone who knows anything about Linux, check out System 76. If you want a laptop shipped with Linux already installed, you can get it. That's it, system76.com, and a Linux magazine here. Pop OS came with a magazine installed. And only on Linux would you be able to actually install an operating system while actually trying it out before it's actually installed. What I mean is running it off like a demo right off the CD. I thought, oh, this is pretty cool. Clicked install, and it was doing this sort of stuff for my hard drive in the background while running off a CD. As well. CD was going nuts because obviously you need the CD to access some files to install it. And you could hear the CD writer head going reading between two. Of course, you get a laptop today, you'd be lucky to have a DVD drive or CD drive. But again, System 76 custom build laptops. You can have one with 2 CD drives if you want to. Whatever you want, whatever floats your boat. Of course, it's beyond my price range, so I run in a X220, like 9-10-year-old laptop. But like I said before, I've done so much to it. I used to say 2020 viable, now it's 2021 viable. It'll still be good for a few years. More than a few years for what I want to use it for, but do you remember when I put in extra RAM for when I was running Peppermint 10? And I sat there and said, I'm not losing any frames. Well, kind of there again. Because I've upped the resolution and gone big full screen. And I'm not losing any frames because the memory handling on this pretty impressive. If I go to view stats, let me reset the stats and see what we got. Very, quite a top resolution, full color. The lighting's not very good on this camera unless you get natural sunlight. It tends to screw with the color spectrum. It looks kind of washed out at the moment, but I do have this on as well, so that's a warmer color now, isn't it? Regardless, what's happening here now is I'm not lost any frames at all. Frames missed due to lag, due to rendering lag, none. Skip frames due to encoding lag, none. But this is a new installation of OBS as well. I may have had some things wrong on the other, on the Peppermint 10 thing. Slight problem. I may be a total freaking idiot because I may have lost all the files. Installing this on top, I may have lost the the template I started using on the other channel. I might have lost the files for doing that, but we'll start again. It doesn't matter. But Would it be convenient if I got them? They might be on an external hard drive though, actually. A USB drive, fingers crossed. I'll check that out. Now, there's no dedicated graphics card on this laptop. There's 16GB. There's an i7 running this. So I think at this resolution, 26% CPU usage isn't that bad, really, because, again, think about the massive data that, just video processing needs. The pressure is actually on the CPU to run the graphics, because there's no dedicated. It's built in. What do they call it? Intel graphics. I forget the actual name it is. It's on the Intel CPU, the i7 CPU. I like the stats thing on OBS. It's handy to have, actually, because if you do mess around with the settings, you've at least got that as a test when you actually get into recording and using it. You can watch it in real time. Linux Pop OS is very smooth with the old kind of, or the new kind of Ubuntu interface. You go to activities and it gives you that smooth animation of what's running. And you click the show applications, it does that animation. These animations are smooth, snappy, and nice to look at, but they don't really take much processing off the CPU because they're short, and then it's not something that's fancy going on all the time. It's just you get that quick animation and you're good to go. It's simple and it's all clean. I like that. And there's a, what's it called? Let me see. Pop shop. Be like the area where that you would install software on Linux Peppermint 10. It was called software resource, or I've forgotten what it's called. It was just an icon. I didn't really have to type it in, so don't remember the name as much. But yeah, on the Pop Shop, then you can click, what's in front of me, you can click installed, and it tells you what you've installed. And right by installed, each one, there's a button called update, so you can update it straight off if you need it to. Like this one for Firefox, there, an update button, operating system updates, and that's the beauty of Linux, though, isn't it? You are in control of your updates. When you run Windows, Microsoft are in control of your updates and your information. Running Windows 10 is, my middle finger just salutes Microsoft. With, every time you talk to Cortana, it is literally data going straight to Microsoft servers and back. And people go, "Oh, my internet's slow." Yeah, no, you're lagging. Yeah. Every time you turn off all those settings, they might have fixed that, but those privacy settings are usually reset to default. But again, it's not private anymore after a big update, and it's become a service. Windows is now a service that you pay for, rather than a product you pay for to use on your machine. Really, it's more like you agree to hand your machine over to the service. I could leave anything running on Linux. It would just do its thing. It would just, no interruptions. Productivity actually goes up when you use Linux. It does actually go up because you're not forced. It's not slammed in your face, or slapped in your face, or whatever you want to, however you want to term it. Is like, you need this update. You must now restart your machine. no, I don't need this update. I'm not even using the software that needs. You're saying should be updated in some cases. Things like that. You need this security update, this and that, and it restarts the machine. You're halfway through something. Then you get to the loading page and it's still installing updates. Update failed. We will now restart, or we will uninstall the update. Fuck you, Microsoft. And if I think something needs to be updated, I go to the operating system updates and I click update. With Linux, you don't have that control with Windows. At the same time, I have mSATA drive installed on the machine. I will put Windows on, just in case it's something I want to use that will only run on Windows, which is rare, but it does happen. Yeah, and compatibility layer stuff with like Wine and all that is really coming leaps and bounds now, and it's due to these many things that are progressing from the community. Even hobbyists can write a script and say, this can be good to be plugged into this and this software for the community, open source. It gets rigorously tested by the community just by being used a lot for free. Then it ends up as part of a installation on a Linux magazine on a Pop! OS operating system on a CD, right? It works, and it's not perfect. Linux does have its problems and issues here and there, but it's mostly down to the big tech giants not communicating. Linus Torvalds was talking in front of a large crowd once, complaining about NVIDIA, and it turns out it's something that System 76 has some NVIDIA software that actually works on Linux, believe it or not. From what I heard, I may have read that wrong, but I wouldn't be surprised. But Linus Torvalds, who originally wrote like the kernel, the Linux kernel, or the command line, and he just used the command line. But the community said, "Oh, we need a graphical user interface to make it friendlier, move away from the command line, something more familiar to people because they were familiarized by this graphical user interface like Windows and other operating systems, right?" And that's what's happened. That's what Ubuntu was all about when it first came out. And we've been progressing from there since. And this is a wonderful evolution to see that the general community doing this, and inevitable. I think it was that a company would come along and sell laptops with Linux installed and System 76. If you want a custom-made laptop, it's all about the user base rather than the user being given a service. It's all about what the user wants. When you're given a service, you have what the service does rather than what you want, and so much more control that it feels like anyway. So much more control in your hands. And more secure. Technically, it depends on your perspective. Or you could argue that there's more security breaches, not breaches, security holes in Linux than there is Windows. But when it comes down to the actual user experience, that is not true. The security problems with Windows are there just because of the model that they use. They need backdoors and backholes to your to the installation in order to send you those updates in a controlled way to start with. Those forced updates. Whereas there's some software detection of what needs to be updated, but it doesn't call up a server somewhere saying, "Oh, call back down," and forces pop up on the screen. You must update this. No, you just, if you want to, you click the update button. If you don't want to, you don't click the update button. It's much more secure. If it's all the world's supercomputers run Linux-based something, or the kernel, the Linux kernel anyway. Right? Chances are, even if you don't use Linux like I use it, you've still used it anyway. It's probably in your mobile phone, but as part of Android, it was the kernel there. Although on top of that, Google slapped all their crap on it, which is not really in the true spirit of the open source community. If you've gone to a cache point, you've probably used it. Yeah. It's in the computers on the International Space Station. They have ThinkPads, by the way. If it's good enough for me, it's good. If it's good enough for them, it's good enough for me, right? In a microgravity where things can float around, you need something more robust, right? So get a ThinkPad. So I'm veering off track here a little bit. The memory handling of Pop! OS is really good. I'm impressed. Everything's snappy, clean. And so was Linux Peppermint 10. But not quite. There was always something that didn't feel quite finished to me. Maybe that's just my perspective, or I just got bored of it. Don't get me wrong though, I would recommend Peppermint 10. Particularly if you're just trying the waters with Linux. Go and have a look at Peppermint 10. It's really cool. You can change so much on it. But I want something that felt smoother, snappier, cleaner. Cleaner is the right word, I think. Much cleaner, crisp. And gets me in the mindset of productivity rather than the mindset of something that looks too comfortable. I don't know. There's a lot of psychology to how an operating system is presented, and you can really get you going, or it can get you lazy, but you're still enjoying it anyway. Yeah, something to think about. I do like it. But after installing it, I hope I haven't lost those template files. So that's all I got to say, really. I just thought I would recommend. Just try it. I don't really know too much about it yet, but looking at it, it's like a Ubuntu interface. But it's very crisp, clean, and things are named differently, like Pop Shop instead of software installer or whatever it is on other. On the Pop Shop thing on the menu, you immediately check for updates. One button, check for updates. That's cool. There's a task manager. Shows you which things are running, like you would on Windows. That's a point on. Let me see. Device. On Peppermint 10, there was something equivalent like a device manager, Although you don't really need that as much in some ways. Well, certainly not with Linux. Linux found my mouse immediately, just testing it before I even installed it. It found my spare screen. Alright. It found that there's a Wi-Fi signal. Couldn't do any of that on Windows. You have to tell it manually. You have to get involved with that. You go, hey, I got a mouse. Hey, I got Wi-Fi. I mean, of course, it wouldn't automatically connect to Wi-Fi. Obviously, there's a password, right? Yeah. Archive Manager. What's that? I'm just looking through different things now. I'll get back to you on some of the things. Yeah, I may not. This channel's more random. Happy New Year, and I'll look forward to doing the next video. Cheers. Bye.